Welcome back, everybody, to MMA Mondays here on the High Low Sports Podcast. Once again, post UFC 309, a game of GOATs has concluded, and wow, what a very star-studded card that had a very action-packed last couple of fights, especially. We'll go and jump right into the main event. Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic, heavyweight GOAT versus overall GOAT, and Jon Jones finishing it off in the third round. At the very end of the third round, they spinning back kick to the body that. Honestly, that kick probably could have taken out a rhinoceros. That was perfectly timed, perfectly placed, whole lot of power. Incredible strike by Jon. The question now, too, with this one comes, he got the victory over Stipe, 2 wins at heavyweight. He said in the octagon afterwards, I'm not retiring yet. I'm still here. So question is, after making such a bold and powerful statement with that knockout win, what's next for Jon Jones? Does he stay at heavyweight? Does he decide to go down to light heavyweight again? I know he teased the Alex Pereira fight. Tom Aspinall is the obvious option right there. When I look at this one, he had a very strong performance beating Stipe. That first round dominated him on the ground. The only time we've ever really seen Stipe taken down, and he got absolutely walloped on the ground. Jon Jones probably close to 10-8 at that one. Second round, one judge gave to Stipe, a little back and forth. Stipe had his moments. He landed some good shots, but you could see the age there with Stipe. You could see the 42-year-old self compared to his younger days, just plodding forward. One shot, then just kind of chasing, can't quite get there. Jon Jones, incredible defense, fight IQ, the length, we know all that. Stipe just didn't have the athletic ability anymore or anything like that to cut him off, so he was kind of chasing the whole time. Third round, little back and forth, and then Jon lands, of course, that huge kick. The obvious answer here is Tom Aspinall next. I think he's heard it at nauseam to the point where it's driving him insane. It's so clear you have an interim champion, heavyweight champion. It's clear as day. Like, the only reason we're even talking about it is because he seems so against it. I'm very curious because there's rumors that if that fight does get made, he'll be open as the underdog at like plus 100. So I'm very interested in that one because we saw Jon when he has the clinch in tight, incredible. When he's at kickboxing length range, incredible. Boxing range, even really slow, plodding, not quite as good as he used to be. Stipe was able to land some shots. Tom Aspinall, very different animal. So that's the fight to make. I like the idea of him and Alex Pereira too, because if he gets Alex down, it's over. If he gets Tom Aspinall down, the fight's over. We kind of already know that. But on the feet is where it gets very interesting because in those certain exchanges, if they can stop Jon Jones, who isn't a traditional, like Khabib and Islam, those guys that chain wrestle like 4 or 5, 6 different takedowns in a row, that hasn't been traditionally his game. So that'll be interesting if they can stop it. Huge if, and then what comes after that. But Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, I want to see either one of them. Aspinall makes the most sense. Alex Pereira is just fun. So I will take either one. The downside of the main event, though, was Stipe, unfortunately, not able to get it done. One of the nicer guys in the game. And more importantly, though, calling it a career after this fight. And what a legendary career. 42 years old, hasn't fought in a few years since that knockout to Francis Ngannou. And then before that, having the trilogy of wars with Daniel Cormier, some of the best in the heavyweights history. You have, of course, had the first fight with Francis Ngannou, the title-winning effort against Fabricio Werdum. Though had 2 fights with Junior Dos Santos. Just an incredible resume. The first-round KO of Alistair Overeem in his hometown of Cleveland. With just an incredible heavyweight career. Still should be regarded as arguably the heavyweight GOAT right now. I know Jon added that name to his resume, but that's 2 fights at heavyweight. Jon Jones still has that status of overall GOAT, but what Stipe did at heavyweight was just absolutely incredible. I know he did take the fight, but I'm still looking at it too. I feel like he only took this one for the paycheck and for the same reason of trying to get Jon Jones on the resume. But there was almost no chance. You could tell, by the way, when they asked me, like, no, I'm done. Didn't even take off his gloves, didn't make a ceremony. He's like Tim Duncan of MMA. He's going to retire and disappear. We're never going to hear from him again unless we live in Westlake, Ohio, or somewhere around there where there's a fire, and he's the one who comes to help. So incredible career for Stipe. Honored to got to watch him fight. He's definitely going to be. People are going to miss him a lot more now that he is gone, I think, and I hope sooner than later they do get him into the UFC Hall of Fame because he deserves it more than just about anyone. Speaking of future UFC Hall of Famers potentially, Charles Oliveira with a dominant performance against Michael Chandler, almost clean sweeping it up until that final round when Chandler was able to turn it on and land some shots. But from round 1 out of the gate, Oliveira controlled the striking. He was landing wicked takedowns as well, throwing Michael Chandler around, submission attempts. Almost got him in a heel hook and like a calf slicer in the first round. Chasing Chandler all across the octagon. Basically, there were levels to this, and Charles showed that he is levels above Michael still, even after the years. Charles Oliveira, in my opinion, secures the title shot. I know there is talk that, well, after Islam and Arman fight, that's going to be he'll fought Volk twice, Arman twice, Oliveira twice. Like, let's get some fresh blood in there. Let's mix it up for the division. I get that, but nobody's really earned it more than Charles at this point. I think he's proved beyond a shadow of a doubt he is just that good. So I think I still want to see him fight Islam or Arman next. One of those two. Either way, it's going to be a rematch. You can make a case he won the first fight with Arman too. So I really want to see Charles Oliver at the next title shot. Whoever, we'll see. We'll have to definitely see. But that's the fight that I think is to make. I know getting tired of the rematches, but it's similar to like Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn, Benson Henderson. It's kind of the same, almost just a loop, it feels like. So but once again, Charles Oliveira, absolutely incredible performance over Michael Chandler. And what do we do with Michael Chandler now? It's 2-4 in the UFC, has his moments, awesome debut, awesome KO of Tony Ferguson. Every time he fights those guys in the upper echelons, though, where he follows up the win, we saw the loss to Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles twice now. He's usually pretty exciting, but you're kind of stuck in what do we do with him. He's almost, I'm not going to say gatekeeper because that has a very negative connotation with it, but he feels like he needs to be fighting guys outside the top 5, 7. He needs to be in that 10 to 15 range he needs to get himself built back up because at this point he's more known for having a random burst and yelling into the microphone afterwards. Like you can't, it's a very weird spot with him. And you just took 2 years off for a guy that's game has so much emphasis on explosion and athleticism and strength. The explosion, the athleticism does not get better as you get older. He's 37, and at lightweight in those lighter weight classes, as it starts to go, you see it start to affect fighters more. So Chandler, there's a few fights, maybe those guys in like that 13, 15, 10 range, just maybe get him back on track, or maybe someone else is able to get one over on a relatively bigger name now, Michael Chandler. But after these big fights, and I won't dive too deep into it, but he's got a little bit of some dirty taxing there. I mean, how many shots did he land at the back of Charles Oliveira's head? Like 15, the cage grabs, the fish hooks. The reputation is not getting any better with that. Once again, heat of the moment, a few shots here and there, but that was like 16 consecutive hammer fists. My goodness. Charles Oliveira might have the back of his head might be made of pure vibranium. I don't know how he took all those and barely even flinched and ended up coming right back. So we'll see what they do with Chandler. Charles Oliveira, I want to see with the next title shot for sure. And last but certainly not least, one more thing we're going to look at is we got an absolute banger at welterweight that's announced too is UFC 310 is getting a co-main event in the form of Shavkat versus Ian Machado, Gary, number 3 versus number 7. Before we dive too much into it, look at those odds here at the bottom. I want to point to this. Shavkat is actually the underdog in this one at plus 180 with Ian Guerin at minus 218, which is absolutely incredible. I never thought, I don't even know, I didn't see the odds off the top of my head, so I can't remember, but I don't even know if Shavkat was an underdog when he was facing Bilal. I think he was the favorite. So that's absolutely incredible. I know Ian Gary gets a lot of slack. Joe Quan Buckley saying it was going to be the buck versus the cuck when they were lined up. He gets a lot of shit thrown his way. Some of it rightfully so with some of the stuff he says. He is 15-0 for a reason. 15-0 versus 18-0. He is a very good fighter. Very good on the feet. Showed against Michael Venom Page the ability to mix in the ground game. He is very, very good, and I think Vegas is showing that respect with those odds as well. Tail of the tape, very similar Shavkat. Actually, they longer reach despite Gary being a little bit taller. This is the very almost hysterically stereotypical matchup of the charging forward unstoppable force versus the counter-striking immovable object, the heavy grappler, that submission specialist wrestler versus the technical striker. It's gonna with really good movement skills. What an awesome fight! You can even make a case. It's this fight card from top to bottom. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. Interesting fight. We just don't know about Sakura, so that's what makes it a little bit tough. But this fight card, even after that, Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov, winner arguably should be in line to fight whatever comes of the John Jones, Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, whatever ends up with that mess. You can see what the winner of this fight could possibly be in line there. And then go at Doo Ho Choi. Doo Ho Choi, always an electric fight as well. Vicente Luque, I think the Nick Diaz fight was called off. I'm not 100% sure. Just a lot of really good fights on this fight card. So 310 getting a absolute showcase co-main event. I can't wait for that one. That's arguably the best fight left for the rest of the year, and would be it's an awesome fight. That could be a title fight. You could have told me in like a year that was going to be a title fight, and I would have believed you. So that's a great way to determine the next challenger too with a welterweight title. But what an incredible weekend. UFC 309. While it might not have Been exactly what we were looking for. You could tell that both John and Stipe are a touch past their prime. Not quite what we would have liked with the name value compared to what they have. We kind of knew 38 versus 42 is not going to be like 24 versus 28. Like there's a clear that is very clear as day, but awesome to see those two actually go head to head and meet in the octagon. Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, awesome fight as well. 309, 310, 309, yeah. Delivered in spades, but an awesome fight card. Let us know down below what you think should be next for some of the winners from UFC 309. We'll see you all again next time.